Controversy on the Plains. Is Hugh Freeze coaching for his job from week to week? Welcome on into the Auburn Express, powered by the War Report. I'm your host, Mike G, and thank you so much for making us your first listen of every single day. Turn us up, turn us all, turn it out. I'm here with my good friend Taylor Davis, sideline reporter for ESPN, to talk a little Auburn football. Taylor, it's been an eventful 72 hours since the Georgia game.
Yeah.
Auburn loses their third straight SEC game to open their SEC schedule. Another game mired in officiating controversy.
True.
Uh, I was in the press box for this one on today's show. We're going to talk about Hugh Freeze and where he's at in his program, but I didn't want to say I was in the press box incredulous at what
Mhm.
happened at the end of the first half. They again literally take points off the board for Auburn.
Sure.
And then subsequently, the referees escort Georgia down the field for 3 points to end the half.
Mhm.
The Auburn AD is at midfield, jawing at the referees. I I feel it's not a great look, but I understand his frustration.
Sure.
And then in the second half, the Auburn offense comes out completely flat and produces nothing, and you lose another what seemed like winnable game that you actually led at halftime. Starting at the top here, we're at the midpoint of the season, Taylor. What is your assessment of the place that Auburn football is in right now? 3-3 and 0-3 in conference.
Yeah, I mean, it's not great. It can't be, right? I mean, what has transpired in the past few weeks is demoralizing, and it's not just because of being 0-3 in conference play. It's that there truly was no reason that this season wasn't going to be a step in the right direction from a personnel perspective, some coaching continuity, recruiting, resources, NIL. You've got everything at Auburn. So to continue having the same issues is so demoralizing. It's really the only way I can put it. I think when you look at the Georgia game, yes, some of those calls, Mike, I've been on the sidelines for a decade now. I have never seen some like that. It truly was baffling, but it doesn't take the place of Auburn's lack. And the lacking continued. You said they came out flat. The offense didn't come out at all.
At all.
40
Yeah.
total yards in an entire second half that you were leading a touchdown. And I go back to the mental toughness and fortitude. Auburn doesn't have it. If Auburn gets in a situation where they think there's any sort of adversity or something's being taken away, they go to victim mindset instead of letting it push them and challenge them. And you saw it in the second half. You saw it at Oklahoma as well. I just can't excuse the lack of attack that we see in Auburn, specifically on the offensive side of the ball. 10 rushing yards, an entire second half. There is just no excuse for it. And I understand the officiating took momentum and took headspace and all of those things that can be true. But it can also be true that Auburn is not mature and prepared enough to win these games. Hugh Freeze's record in one possession games is startling. It's you are not equipping these guys to go overcome adversity. And whether it's the refs, whether it's the weather, the environment, someone's parent pass, like adversity is inevitable in life. And if you don't have a team that is equipped to fight through it, you're never going to win. So that's my issue. Yeah, I'll participate in the debates about this not being clapping all day long. But at the end of the day, Auburn didn't do enough to win. And you can't blame that solely on officiating. And it's been the case for the past 3 weeks. It's been the case for the past 3 seasons.
Uh, Taylor, at what point are the repeated results a reflection of the process by which you prepare
Mhm.
and game plan? Because there's a common denominator here. And it's really difficult at this point to not look at coaching because on the defensive side, I can pretty confidently say they're doing everything they absolutely can to keep Auburn in every single football game. You're 6
I
games
agree.
in, they haven't given more than 24 points up to any opponent, and you're 3-3.
Yeah. The defense is continuing to do everything that you've asked them to do, but I said that last year and I said that the year prior. The defense continues to play very hard, very physical. They're not perfect by any means, but they continue to give you actual progress and preparedness. The offense looks like it has no clue what it's doing, and it's so confusing. I said at the beginning of this season that the offensive line had to be the key. Well, Jackson Arnold had to be the driver, and he's not. I think that Auburn missed at the quarterback position yet again, and I don't understand why that talent evaluation has not been better. I'm not knocking the guy. I think that he does have a skill set. I don't think it's the right situation for him. Maybe it's the play calling that's the issue. I don't know, but he's missing guys that are open. You can look at the past 3 weeks like that, and at some point, you can't just blame it on timing. You can't blame it on, well, they've got to find their rhythm. If you're going to go into the portal and get your starting quarterback, that guy has to be able to establish rhythm and timing with his guys quickly. And I don't see it. I think that we're holding on to the ball too long. We're missing guys in stride. We are not giving any of these targets the opportunity to be the game breakers that they can be. So I don't think the quarterback situation was addressed. You pointed out the midfield, stuff with the referees. I don't know that there is enough separation from the emotional, intensity of a game and the play calling. I actually think that they're clouding each other. I think that Hugh Freeze's composure doesn't always maintain itself, and you have to have it if you're going to be in the play calling seat. If you are going to want to fight those battles and be in that, and you can't compartmentalize that when it comes time to call plays, you're going to have to hand that over to a coordinator that can do it for you. Something has to give. Lane Kiffin is an efficient play caller in games because he gets fired up for 2 seconds and he's on to the next thing. We're not
Yeah.
letting it permeate into our every breath. So I think that those two things need to be separated. There's just a lot from a decision making standpoint, and Auburn doesn't have that winning mentality at this point. And I think you see that in a variety of ways. The talent evaluation, I don't think was as on top as we thought it was when it came to the quarterback position. And ultimately, Auburn is just continually putting itself in positions that it's having to just hope that something better happens because it's not mentally, physically prepared to go do it itself.
Uh, I asked the question. I posed the question to Coach Freeze about what accountability looks like after this third straight SEC loss. He may have had a more defiant tone to my question, where it
Mhm.
was get in here Monday and get it fixed. And I yeah, I know I don't want to play semantics here. Just in my head, I'm thinking Monday. You're not waiting till Monday to get this fixed, right? Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know if you should be leaving the building. Uh, what does accountability look like? After Texas A&M, I'll just be blunt. I was shocked that nobody got fired.
Yeah.
Uh, you told the world that an NFL scout said you had 6 linemen with NFL grades, but your offensive line leads the league in sacks and pressure given up on your quarterback.
Mhm.
So, uh, going back to something you just said, it sounds like Taylor Davis wants a quarterback change here because you feel like Jackson was not the right pick.
I think that if you continue to do the same things and expect different results, you qualify as insane. And if Auburn is refusing to change anything from, a coaching staff, a game prep perspective, you have to call a spade with your personnel. And if Jackson Arnold continually cannot put drives together and your offense is putting up the most unimpressive numbers that we have seen in quite some time, you have to mix something up. I'm not saying that Jackson is not a talented quarterback. The guy can scramble. It's not doing enough. And there is no spark offensively. So if you bring in a different quarterback and just give them the opportunity, give them the package. I understand the Deuce Knight red shirt conversation comes into play, yada yada. Ashton Daniels, let's see what the guy can do. I just you get to a point where, and I've felt this way with Peyton Thorne, I have felt this way with some of the play calling. Is it Hugh? Is it not? Is it this? Is it that? we are repeatedly seeing the same issues. So then why don't we change what we're doing? It's just, to me, it feels like the only other option here, eh, until you get into the coaching conversation. And look, that one I said the last time I was here, far above my pay grade. I am not picking up a pitchfork and saying to do it. But what I am saying is you can't continue the way that you're doing things right now. So whether it's Hugh Freeze changing some things or internally things change, either way, the road that Auburn is on right now is not going to produce fruit, because you look at this roster, the
It's loaded.
roster and the on-field execution are night and day. This makes no sense. This makes no sense. So you have to ask for change, and I'm not calling for someone's livelihood to be ripped away from them. So the next thing I look at is, okay, well, maybe we hand off play calling. I don't know who you're doing that for. I like Nick's a lot. I don't know that that's able to happen in game. So okay, quarterback, like, do we mix that up a little bit? There's just a lack of spark and a lack of, you guys, 40 total yards and a half. Can we just take a moment? I mean, the Oklahoma game, there was no offense.
And
So,
well,
like,
you did that to yourself. They didn't
if,
s you stopped you. Then
but
Georgia didn't
yes,
stop
which is
you.
why
Yeah.
I'm saying if you have a death grip on any part of this offense, I can't understand why.
Uh, Great points all around, my friend. The frustration that I feel coming off of you and through the screen and microphone is something
Everything's
that,
fine.
yeah, is something that fans are feeling, as we record this here on a Tuesday. If you're watching this, it's Wednesday morning, but it feels like it's been the longest few days ever for a
Yeah,
program that is loaded with talent but unable to turn that into dubs here. I I'm at a loss. I went into the post game to press conference and into the Monday press conference saying, "What do we ask this coach? What do we say that hasn't been said every single week?" And I thought you made a really good point about what changes, because if
yeah,
it's not a coaching change,
mhm,
then where else do you go but personnel? And I don't know that the personnel are necessarily the issue when you see the same issues year over year.
sure.
So, I'm with you. I'm with you completely on Jackson. I just think if you need a savior at quarterback, you don't go out and get a project QB.
Correct.
You get a guy who
Correct.
can save you at quarterback. You need Cam Newton, go find
Yep,
Cam Newton
yep,
every single year.
yep,
If you need, guys who, and when I say Cam Newton, I mean guys who are just playmakers.
yep,
Cam Newton, playmaker. Nick Marshall, playmaker. Jarrett Stidham, playmaker, just in a different kind of way. Bo Nix, playmaker, right?
yeah,
Like a guy who could just go out and make magic happen.
and he did
Is
at times.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get acting like this offense can live without that guy. So
Yep.
is it fair? Is it fair to Deuce to put him in at this point? Is it fair to Ashton? Is it fair to anyone? To throw them into a situation where it might not be optimal for anybody's success. Before we get to the break here, I do want to ask you: is this situation in your mind kind of similar to what happened at Florida with Mertz and Lagway? I mean, Mertz it came in solidly the starter into the season. They
Yeah,
needed a spark. They went to Lagway. They found that spark. I strongly believe that move saved Billy Napier's job.
it definitely
That
did.
Yeah, we thought he was going to be fired mid-season for sure.
Yeah,
With the hardest schedule we've ever seen in college football history, right? Like, I mean, that was a difficult schedule.
absolutely.
Is Auburn in a place where you could turn to a young man for the spark that you needed? It might not land you where you want it to be in terms of wins and losses, but it could provide the hope for the next season
Yeah.
to help this coach get another year.
I think so. I also think it could potentially help with roster retention, because you do have a lot of offensive guys that their productivity is being impacted by the quarterback position. And so for them to get a glimpse into what the future could hold if they stay and continue to build chemistry with that guy, But I do see the argument for Deuce Knight to retain his red shirt, and I know that that's going to be a focal point for several people and something that the coaching staff has to deal with, and changing any sort of chemistry, whether we can see it on the field in game or not, the timing, the game week, all of it. I get it. And it's not the easy fix. Newsflash: a coaching change isn't an easy fix. I know everyone gets so up in arms and thinks that that's going to be the answer. There are ripple effects to even some of the most fantastic hires. Like, change is difficult. So I don't. I think people are a little misinformed that just you snap your fingers and everything's fixed. Of course, Kurt Signetti's finding a way to do it in Bloomington. So what the heck, it
Yeah.
can happen if it's the right guy. But I do think that whether it's a personnel change or not, this week's game is very impactful. And I think that a lot will come from the results of this week's game. If Auburn is somehow able to pull a win off over Missouri, a team that I still believe in, even though they just lost to Alabama, I think this Missouri team is very good and very talented. If Auburn gets that win, it creates a little relief and it buys you a little more time. If Auburn gets embarrassed this week, if they change nothing, personnel, play calling, blame officiating, whatever, and ends up embarrassed in Jordan Hare, next week there will be breaking news every day. There's just no way around it. So you got one of two options coming out of this game.
Whew, man, tough conversations to be had. Yeah, and you're taking me into what we're going to talk about in the second half of the show, and that's whether or not this coach is coaching for his job week to week. AD John Cohen maybe has some decisions to make. We'll talk about that right after a quick word from our sponsors, our friends at AIM and Associates. That's Abel's Iron Moore and Associates. Just starting out in your career, it might feel like investing is something you'll think about later, but the truth is, the earlier you start, the more time your money has to grow. Abel's I Know More and Associates helps young professionals build disciplined portfolios from day one. They'll help you understand how to invest strategically, avoid common pitfalls, and create a foundation for long-term financial growth. No minimum account required, no sales pitch, and no gimmicks, just clear guidance from a team with over 20 years of experience helping clients across the country. Call AIMA at 912-777-4128 or visit aiminc.com to get started on a path toward financial security and freedom. The War Report has been compensated by Abel's I Know More and Associates for this endorsement. AIMA is a registered investment advisor. Registration as an investment advisor does not imply a certain level of skill or training. The information in this advertisement is for informational purposes only and should not be considered personalized investment advice. All investing involves risk, including potential loss of principal, and past performance is not indicative of future results. Also want to thank our friends at Sky Tobacco and Vape. Need a smoke shop that's close by? Sky Tobacco and Vape has you covered all over the Columbus, Phoenix City area. So whether you're cruising down Victory Drive or headed up Airport Thruway, maybe just on the 280 bypass in Phoenix City, they've got a spot ready for you, from tobacco to vape and everything in between. Sky Tobacco and Vape is your one-stop shop for all your vaping needs. Stop by and see them at one of the 4 convenient locations. Chances are they're already on your way. I want to thank our friends at the Rogue Shop. Visit rogueshop.com. Use code REPORT to get 15% off your Rogue Shop order. Pain, sleep, stress, anxiety, whatever ails you in life, the Rogue Shop potentially has something that has you covered. If you've got some traditional ailments that could require some non-traditional remedies, the Rogue Shop could be the place for you. Our guy Richard, longtime sponsor of the show, dropping a little something extra in there for everybody using code REPORT today. I want to thank our friends at Golden's Cast Iron. Visit goldenscastiron.com/WR. Use code Get Your Weight Up for 15% off your weights and code TWR for $65 off fire pits and Kamado grills. The fall may be just beginning, but it's no excuse to not be outside by Golden's Cast Iron Grill or staying in shape with some Golden's Cast Iron weights. Work out, grill out, chill out with Golden's Cast Iron. Last but certainly not least, I want to thank our friends at the Vibe Vault. You can find them at 3462 Crosswinds Road, Suite E in Phoenix City, Alabama. The Vibe Vault, not just barbers, lifestyle consultants. If you're in the Columbus, Phoenix City area and you're looking to get fresh for the weekend, please go see my guy, Steve Watkins, serving up fresh cuts for the community there. Clean environment, great staff. The Vibe Vault, again, not just barbers, lifestyle consultants. Let's jump back into our conversation here. John Cohen, the function of the Auburn athletic director is to hire and fire football coaches. I don't know if any AD at Auburn has ever gotten fired because he didn't hire the right tennis coach. or the right women's basketball coach. It is football above all, and this was his hire. This was his guy. He
Yeah.
went out. He got Hugh Freeze. He sold to the world that Hugh Freeze was the first choice. I don't know if I believe that, but it was the guy that they ended up with. And you don't have a winning season, and you're 500 at the midway point, and Taylor, we talked about the back half of the schedule. I keep going over a conversation you and I had over and over again about the opportunity that this schedule represented for Auburn.
How
I'm going to pull it back
crazy.
up here. Missouri looking a lot better. Arkansas fired their coach midseason, but I'm
Mhm.
telling you that team's still pretty dangerous offensively when they want to be.
They almost
Kentucky,
got Tennessee.
oh goodness, like Kentucky, I still feel pretty
We
confident about
Yeah,
Kentucky being the worst team in the league, and that's a
yeah.
game that Auburn should win. Vanderbilt now is looking like a top 15 matchup, and Mercer should be a dub. Alabama
Nope.
is going to be Alabama. Now your last 6 games, realistically, like 4 of these you could lose.
Yeah.
And the 4 I'm talking about, Missouri, I don't know why he wants to hear it, but Arkansas,
Yep.
Vanderbilt, and Alabama,
Yep.
all losable games if you do not bring your A game here. That would be an absolute nightmare scenario. I don't think that he makes it to the Iron Bowl if he loses 2 out of the next 3. So, if you've got Missouri, Arkansas, and Kentucky, you can't go over in the next 2 and still be employed here. What kind of position is John Cohen in your mind here, in whether when it's time to cut bait on this coach and say, guys, we have to go a different direction. I know we're sick of paying buyouts. However, we've got to get to the next, and we've got to, maybe this is a fresh market for big name head coaches right now with
Yeah.
all the coaching changes happening around. You mentioned Signetti. Auburn fans all over social media saying, what we need to get in on Signetti fast, but you still got a coach right now, and you can't make moves until you've done something with the guy you have.
Yeah, I think it's a really tough situation and one that I certainly do not envy. And John Cohen has made a comment that basically said, "I don't want to have to make that move," and I get it. I mean, that would be a very, very difficult part of the job. I do think that the next 2 weeks are imperative for Hugh Freeze. I think that not just. I don't think a loss to Missouri does anything. I think a pummeling by Missouri. Like if Missouri comes to Jordan Hare and it is so lopsided, and once again Auburn's offensive yardage is under 100. I can't believe that's even real, but something you have to really consider. It it does expedite the decision. Absolutely. Now, if you hang with Missouri, if you get the win over Arkansas, you're going to get the win over Kentucky. Vanderbilt, I'm not entirely sure. Very intrigued to see what they do against LSU this weekend. I think that'll be a better test. I, I don't think I think it's more predicated on how much of this roster can you maintain and how much of the recruiting progress that has been made at Auburn will be upheld? And the answer to that lies in not just keeping or firing Freeze, it's who you get after him. There's no way that Penn State doesn't already know who they're getting. They would not have done this and
Yeah.
paid that buyout and gotten James Franklin out of there. They were in the playoff last year. They won 2 games in the postseason. There's no way they're doing that without already knowing who they're getting. And if you're Auburn, I I get the Signetti conversation. I don't see it happening. I think that I personally think he's at the top of Penn State's list. So there's that. But they also have eyes on Marcus Freeman at Notre Dame. I could also see Brian Kelly ending up at Penn State, not because LSU is going to force him out of there, but because I think it's a better fit for him than Baton Rouge. I think if you're Auburn, guys like people are going to hate to hear it, but Lane Kiffin's going to be in the conversation. Lane Kiffin,
Again, you think?
yeah. Lane Kiffin will be in the conversation. Brent Key will be in the conversation at Georgia Tech. Both of those guys have their teams headed in really positive directions. They're not going to do anything public with a potential coaching change while their team is in pursuit of postseason. So that buys you a little more time if you're eyeballing guys like that. If you're eyeballing guys like Rhett Lashley and John Summerall, who I would have my eyes on if I were a power 4 AD right now on both of those. Both would be solid, easier fits at Auburn. Rhett Lashley, familiarity with Auburn. John Summerall coached at Troy. He's used to in-state recruiting. He's got a footprint in the Southeast. Both of their respective alma maters could be open by the end of this season. One already is Rhett Lashley's Arkansas. Kentucky, I'm so confused how the noise around Mark Stoops is not louder than it is.
Yeah,
It's that 9 million a year that is keeping it quiet. But
same.
both of those guys' respective SEC alma maters could end up open. So if you're considering a guy like that, you have to get in this race quickly. So I think who they would target will dictate when they target it, if at all.
Yeah.
So I think that that plays into it. You almost have to start at the end to figure out the beginning, which is difficult and obviously not something that we're well versed in. But I think that the next couple of weeks, if Auburn is absolutely embarrassed, I don't know how you save face without making change. But I am still hopeful that they're able to figure something out. As much as it literally grinds my gears to say that Auburn is close, they have been. Like, it really is the truth. Other than the A&M game, you don't feel like it was an absolute impossibility. Now, to some, that makes matters worse because it's like you're finding ways to lose. And at that point, what is it that we are not equipping our players to do when it comes to winning football?
Finding ways to lose. When you are finding ways to lose, it almost doesn't matter who the opponent is because you're playing down to whatever the situation is rather
Mhm.
than rising to the occasion when it's presented. Hugh Freeze on Monday talking about Auburn not being able to shine in those critical moments. It's tough when you say embarrassed though. I think that what we're talking about is the floor for this team offensively.
Yeah.
Uh, are you going to have another game where it's close on the scoreboard and your defense did the job, but you have an embarrassing offensive performance that keeps you from winning the football game? Now,
Right.
Auburn has been on a streak of some of the worst officiating I've ever seen.
Agreed.
But you're you're putting yourself in a position where those calls matter to the outcome of the game for you, and you're not getting the benefit of the doubt for whatever reason. I don't know that I've ever seen a coach literally get a do-over on a play. I mean that
I
again
have no
incredible,
idea. None.
inexplicable.
Yep.
I don't know how they explain that to Hugh Freeze with a straight face.
Yeah.
And I think it's embarrassing for the conference. But you have to be able to be better than the calls you receive
True.
at some point. And it's tough. Oklahoma was stolen from them. It was absolutely stolen from them. Even if you get the touchdown at the end of the half, I don't know that Auburn doesn't still find a way to lose the
Yeah.
game versus Georgia, but it it hurts that it's even a conversation. And I know that's frustrating for Hugh Freeze. He ended the press conference saying essentially anybody who looks at this and says that we're not close doesn't know what they're looking at. And I think the problem is that you're just close.
Yeah.
So yeah, while you're close, what did you say a couple weeks ago? You
It
said
only counts in horseshoes and slow dancing.
slow dancing. Yeah, I don't want to slow dance with you, Hugh. So uh, we're gonna have to figure something out here. We're gonna have to get a boot scoop boogie or some different kind of dance going here. But the
Yeah.
slow dance
Close
definitely
doesn't
not
matter in football.
working.
It
Yeah,
doesn't.
I Taylor, as always, I want to thank you for joining the show today to give us your thoughts. I know this isn't the conversation that we want to have
I know.
mid-season, but it's the one that we have, and hopefully after Saturday, we'll be talking about something else, maybe a springboard forward. A win versus
Let's
Missouri
hope.
could be the start of something that this coach will desperately need. But if Hugh Freeze wants to stay employed as Auburn's head coach, he's got to give his 80 something to work with here. And as far as I'm concerned, the only thing that matters is that you get the win, no
Yeah.
matter what it looks like at this point, because the losing 0-4 to start SEC play, I I want to say Auburn's never started 0-3 in SEC play
Jeez.
until this year. 0-4 definitely would be unprecedented. You just can't do it. You can't make those kind of records. Taylor Davis, before we get out of here, as always, tell people where they can find you.
You can catch me on my podcast with Jason Campbell, Auburn
Yeah.
legend, SEC State of Mind. You can find us on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. You can find me on all social media platforms at Taylor Beth Davis. And I will be on the call this weekend for Florida State at Stanford. And that will be
Ooh.
Saturday night, 9:30 Central Time, 7:30 Pacific on ESPN.
Florida State at Stanford. That's going to be a fun one for you, my friend. Enjoy. I will definitely be watching. This episode of the Auburn Express is brought to you by friends at SetsForSociety.ai. The road to knowing self better starts at Sets for Society. They have custom personality assessments to let you know a little bit more about how you think, how those around you think, and how you guys can think best together to achieve like goals. SetsForSociety.ai. Visit them today to get your custom personality assessment started. It's free. You just fill out the form and they'll reach out to you and do the rest after that. We appreciate them for sponsoring this segment. Guys, we want to hear from you. Hit the comments after video. Let us know what you think about Auburn and the situation they're in at midseason. Does Hugh Freeze need to win out to keep his job? All right. And will John Cohen pull the trigger in the next couple of weeks? Again, we want to hear from you. While you're in the comment section, do us a favor, smash that super thanks button. Your financial support helps keep the work that we're doing here going. Please hit like and subscribe. We are the War Report on every social media platform. We are TW Report on TikTok. We're signing off, and as always, War Eagle.